The WNBA gets an A for ignoring the obvious and slaying the golden goose yet again. Why does it sometimes feel like parts of the WNBA media are fighting against their biggest attraction? Hmm. Yeah, the biggest attraction is Caitlin Clark. Yeah. Yes, Clark isn't the only great player. I know this. We all know this. From Asia Wilson to Paige Beckers to Olivia Miles, there are many great players in the WNBA. We all get that. We all get that you want to promote them. Go ahead, promote them. I'm not saying don't promote them, but here's what I think. The WNBA and some of the media surrounding the WNBA gets this completely backwards. How do they do that? Let me tell you. You don't promote other stars instead of Caitlin Clark. You promote other stars through Caitlin Clark. That's right. There's a huge difference. Follow me here. Because whether people like it or not, Caitlin Clark brought an enormous new audience to women's basketball. This is not breaking news. You already know this. People who weren't watching the WNBA, guess what they're doing? They're watching now. People who couldn't name five WNBA players a few years ago, what are they doing? They're buying tickets. That's right. They're watching games on TV and they're arguing about this league. They're having debates about this league on social media. Isn't that what the WNBA wanted for years and years? So why would you fight it? That is the big question. Get a load of who the ESPN halftime crew focused on Sunday in the game between Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever and Angel Reese and the Atlanta Dream. By the way, Angel Reese was 3 for 10 from the field at the time. Roll it, Dominic.
Reese, in particular, her energy shifted. I thought when she got some of those easy baskets to go in the paint that, quite frankly, she had struggled with to open the ball game, that's when you saw this defense begin to pick up its energy, this Dream Squad to begin to play with a little bit more confidence.
Yeah, athletes know it's not how you start, it's how you finish, and that energy is contagious because if you look at Angel Reese, she already has 7 and 9. She's already getting close to a double-double, but then also, if you think about, on the other side here, you're seeing the Indiana Fever, they're just being a little bit methodical as well because I like these good to great plays. You see Caitlin orchestrating. It's like both sides are leaning into their strengths on this one.
Let's go back to Angel really quickly, though, because she was part of the catalyst that you saw to be able to change things around. And she said to Holly, I just feel like I needed to take a deep breath and maybe stop overthinking some of these
I've been there.
ones.
I've been there. Like sometimes the basket is too open.
Right.
She's used to getting double teams. She's used to triple teams and she's used to contact. And so sometimes when you see her like, wait, what's coming? You want to look over your shoulder. But she settled into the game well. And what I
Yeah, I mean, really, Angel Reese triple teamed a lot. And Monica McNutt started that conversation talking about Angel Reese. But that's not all. So after the Fever came back to win that game in overtime, thanks to great playmaking and clutch free throws by Caitlin Clark to lock up the win, here's Andrea Carter on ESPN SportsCenter sharing her difference maker while also giving a head-shaking excuse for Atlanta's loss, listen closely, and not calling out Angel Reese for missing an easy game-winning bucket at the end of regulation, even though the video of that miss was playing while Andrea Carter was talking. Roll it, Dominic.
This game is officially titled the Michaela Timpson game. For Michaela Timpson to have 20 points, she had 12 points in the first half. She was 5 of 6 from the field in the first half, and that was pivotal because Kelsey Mitchell was limited in the first half. So Michaela Timpson held on strong with her scoring. She ends up with a career-high 20 points, and that ends up being the separator. If you go look at the final box score of this game, the big three from each team scored 64 points. The big threes canceled each other out, so it was all about who else was going to step up outside of the big three. And for Michaela Timpson to have the day that she did on the road, it's going to give her more confidence. It'll give her teammates even more confidence in her, and she's become a huge piece for this team. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, we wanted that to roll more, but, Dominic's not perfect. But Andrea Carter went on to make an excuse about Jordan Canada not being with the Atlanta Dream, which is why which is why they lost the game. That's not why the Atlanta Dream lost the game. Angel Reese missed an easy layup, which would have been a game-winning bucket at the end of regulation. There's no, and also one thing that I've learned over the years when you analyze sports, you don't talk about the players that aren't there. You talk about the players that are on the court or on the field. That is who you talk about. You don't make excuses for another team saying Jordan Canada. We're not talking about that she's Asia Wilson and she didn't play for, her team. We're talking about Jordan Canada for the Atlanta Dream. So there's that. I heard my former ESPN colleague Rick Bucher asked a valid question on social media the other day. I think it was Sunday. He asked, why are all WNBA crews made up of women? He said it's like a girls' club. I get where he's coming from, but here's the thing. You can't assume putting a man on that panel that you will get the diversification of voices and opinions if you do. Give a listen to someone named Myron Metcalf, who was on First Take Monday morning. Roll it, Dominic.
Olivia Miles is the MVP of the WNBA. She should be. And that's no disrespect to Asia Wilson. Caitlin Clark has been surging. Kelsey Mitchell is really good. But if you're talking about MVP, most valuable player, it has to be Olivia Miles. Everyone's going to say that Nafisa Collier's come back and she looks good. Of course she does. But before Fee was back, Olivia Miles still had the Minnesota Lynx at the top of the WNBA standing. They were still set to be the number one seed in the playoffs before she ever came back. So you are talking about a player who I think deserves that award. We don't like to give MVP to young players, and I think we got to get rid of that mindset because Olivia Miles is your MVP in the WNBA right now, and I don't think there's a lot of discussion about it.
For good reason. Olivia Miles will win Rookie of the Year. She's not the league MVP. Sorry, Myron Metcalf. Anything to avoid the obvious. Let's go back in time right now. I want to make a comparison why the WNBA has missed the boat on this. When Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, you remember them, they helped explode the popularity of the NBA. When that happened, did the league say, wait a minute, we're talking too much about Magic and Bird. Let's pull back on them. Let's pull back a bit so we can make sure everybody gets equal attention. No, the NBA didn't do that. They put Magic and Bird everywhere. And guess what happened? People started learning about everybody else in the NBA. The NBA exploded. It was must-see TV. And then Michael Jordan came along. Did the NBA say at that time when MJ came along, Michael's getting too much attention. We need to take some of that spotlight away from him and give it to Patrick Ewing and give it to Charles Barkley. Of course they didn't say that. They put Michael Jordan in the brightest spotlight they could find. And Barkley became a star. Ewing became a star. Karl Malone became a star. Reggie Miller became a star. You get the trend here? There's a lesson here. When your biggest star makes the pie bigger, everybody gets a bigger piece. That's what Caitlin Clark has done for the WNBA, and that's what Caitlin Clark continues to do for the WNBA. And here's what makes the resistance to her popularity even more fascinating. Caitlin Clark is not walking around demanding you talk about her. She's doing the opposite. She's not saying this is my league. She talks about her teammates. She talks basketball. And when she's dragged into controversies that have nothing to do with basketball, most of the time, she'd rather not talk about it. And she shies away from it. The fans made this decision. The audience makes this decision. You can debate whether Caitlin Clark is the best player in the WNBA. I get that. You can debate whether she's the MVP. I get that too. I love these debates. These are basketball debates. But her impact on the popularity of this league, that's not much of a debate. And acknowledging Caitlin Clark's impact does not diminish Asia Wilson, does not diminish Olivia Miles, does not diminish Paige Beckers. In fact, it's the exact opposite. Caitlin Clark's enormous popularity gives the WNBA an opportunity to make all of these women bigger stars. Once again, it is common sense. So instead of constantly worrying about whether Caitlyn is getting too much attention, why don't you use that attention? Use it. The WNBA spent decades asking America, pay attention to us, pay attention to our league. Well, America is paying attention now. And if one player helped open that door wider than it's ever been before, don't resent her for it. Don't minimize it. Don't try to manufacture somebody else to replace her in the spotlight. Just use the spotlight. And then walk every other great player in this league right through that door with her. Why is this so difficult to understand? Maybe you can help me. Tell me in the chat box.